Alright, hi everybody. This is going to be a 1x playthrough of Rogue Dungeon RPG. As you can see, I've got absolutely nothing here yet. Have not played. This is going to be completely fresh. This is on the new 1.7 update, which includes pets. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's see. Starting off right away, getting attacked. The first few rounds of the game are pretty straightforward. You slowly aggro the goblins and then kill them. One interesting thing that got updated in the 1.7 release is the spinning sweep attack, which has always actually had a bit of overlap at the beginning and end of the animation, has now been adjusted so that overlap will happen wherever you're pointing. This is going to make the game a lot more accessible to newer players who may not realize that the overlap always used to happen directly north of your character. So level 2, you always want to go Crusher for your level 2 if you're on your first playthrough, if you have the option. The Warrior is just so powerful. And honestly, this is potentially 3 of the best skills in the game. Cleave is awesome. You kill one enemy, you immediately hit the next. The thing with Rogue Dungeon is you're not really grinding on enemies, especially with the Warrior type playthrough with the heavy weapon. You're looking at killing enemies almost one hit every time. Cleave is going to let you just wreck entire groups of enemies. Along with Spinning Sweep, this should give you all the damage you need. Painful Reminder is actually my second next best item. The DPS you get from this throughout the late game is incredible. Every time you take damage, you have a 40% chance to attack back, basically. Combine this with Cleave and you will be an absolute monster. So I'm going to go Cleave. You really can't go wrong with Cleave if you're a warrior. It's going to make me do so much more damage. Great. Well, this is great luck. 6 damage Morningstar. You know, I'm not really worried about the delay. 1400. We've already got Cleave, so we're already not worrying too much about our attack delay. The other nice thing with this game is the ring item gives you a flat number of attacks per second. So that scales quite nicely with slow weapons because it gives you a lower limit on how frequently you're attacking. So this ring gives me half an attack per second. That means the maximum delay I'm looking at is going to be 2000, but it's realistically going to be a lot less than that. So as you can see at this point, I am basically killing enemies one hit every time. And combine that with Cleave and, well, enemies will just melt. Look at that. That was exactly what we want. So picking up items, I don't always manage my inventory that well if I'm on a roll. You really only need to go in and update your items when you start taking damage. Cool. So here is the new pet. So update 1.7 introduced pets. They're a little extra DPS on the side. Some of them have special abilities. For example, the crow pet causes enemies to take additional damage. And there's a lot going on with pets. The interesting skill they get is a stat called Power. Power increases the effect of their abilities. So the basic ability of the crow is he poisons enemies to take an additional 10% damage. So we'll just see how that goes. It's not going to have as much impact on me right now, just because I'm already so strong. So great. Level 3, another round of Crusher, and here is my skill. Painful Reminder. As much as I'd love to get Master of Power for more slow weapons, or Thunderclap for damage and speed, this is the DPS skill of kings, for warrior at least. So pets can take damage, and they will take damage if you let them. Enemies tend to prefer to attack you, so you're not generally too worried about this. Alright, so this is the first real dangerous round. Here's the thing. This enemy will swing. You have a minute of wind up. You can see when he's going. So getting hit sucks, but it's generally avoidable. You just have to time it better than I'm doing. Cool. Level up. Cool. So I always go with the defense skill here. It's just not balanced. Strength, life, and defense. 8 defense is way more impactful in this game than 16 life or 4 strength. It's not even close. Because if we look at it, we have 12 defense right now. 8 of that is coming from our skill we just got. So I'm just going to go through and sell the items that I don't need, equip the ones that look better. $11 damage versus 6 damage, easy win. One reason the warrior is so effective as an early game class is the game drops are actually designed to support your first playthrough in many ways. So when you kill that first boss on level 2, he always drops a heavy sledge, golden sledge, and that item is slow and strong. It's got, I think, a base damage of somewhere between 8 and 10 damage. Sometimes that gets modified because it's always at least a rare. Basically, you can't really go wrong in your first playthrough if you're fairly experienced with these kinds of games. Cool. Lifesteal is effective. It's one of those stats that scales better towards the end game than the early game. You just don't do quite enough damage early game versus what you take for the lifesteal to really balance out. But as you become stronger, your damage will tend to scale a little faster than your durability. And so that lifesteal becomes more critical. Another level. Okay. Oh, that was my achievements. Warrior. So stunning sweep is effective late game when you have a lower cooldown on your sweep. You can keep enemies stunned a majority of the time. But for your first playthrough, you always want spinning sweep. Sweep spins twice instead of once, but what's key about this is to know that sweep will hit the enemy at the beginning and ending point twice. So really what I've just gotten is the ability to hit a single enemy or a small group of enemies 4 times. And so that double sweep, both beginning and ending at the same point, it is just absolutely insane. So the pet really doesn't do much right now. So, the thing with pets is they can be really effective, especially as you start kiting enemies when you're having trouble. And they're really powerful for beginning players who may not quite know what they're doing. They give you that extra edge. But if you're someone who's played through the game a couple times, if you know what you're doing, if your character is stronger than the enemies on the level, the pet doesn't really matter, right? Like, we could probably beat this floor without the pet and feel no different. Some of the other pets will give a little more aura type bonus to your character. Cool. Crusher, again, always go for Crusher if I can. Tough Skin is not bad. That would add 6 more defense and scale quite well throughout the game. I'll probably end up going for that because durability is also very important in this game. Sweeping Retaliation is great if you're taking a lot of damage. My goal with a warrior type build is to kill every enemy the minute I get to them. So, gonna go for Tough Skin. That'll give me that extra tankiness I need to survive those initial hits. Because, one thing that you'll run into with Rogue Dungeon is the enemy's attack range is generally the same as yours. Your skill ability range is actually a little longer, which is nice to know, it turns out. Cool. Let's check on those items. Cactuses are pretty strong, so 12 reduction will help keep me alive for this. As we can see, the cactuses already have enough life that we're not killing them a single hit. Cool. So what do I want to get? Defense and luck, defense and speed, damage and strength. I'm going to go defense and speed. The damage is a decent option. It would bring my 14 damage up to 18, which would be a pretty big thing. But if I'm thinking long term, defense is just so powerful for survivability. I think speed is probably better than luck at this point, because it gives you the option to kite. Even a few points of speed are going to make a big difference. So your base speed is generally around 29 or 30. And so 3 speed is about a 10% improvement. That'll let you outrun enemies, basically. You don't need 40, 50, 60 speed. Cool. So I've been picking up a couple charms. And so charms are items you can equip on pets. And they make your pet a little bit stronger. So this will give my crow 30 more damage and 51% thorn damage. So this isn't too useful because honestly crows don't get hit very often. They have an extremely low aggro factor, but I'll equip it for now. Why not? Cool. So these guys suck, especially if I get 3 of them. They do a lot of damage, but they don't have that much life. The best option for the thorny cactus range attacks is really to run in as a circle, especially if you have a little extra speed. You can usually dodge all of their attacks and get in and kill them without taking any damage yourself. Alright. Ring attacks drop. This increases the power of your attacks per second on dropped rings. That's awesome because that's going to increase that flat damage. Alright. So here we see a key factor you're looking at as playing a warrior. Even though the Tiger Claws of Strength have about, 12% extra DPS, the total damage, 6 versus 11, is not worth it. I'm going to sell those. They're not good for my character. Cool. So that's an item upgrade shrine. It's going to increase the rarity of one of the items I'm wearing. Well, give me a copy, actually, that is 1 tier higher. So, as you can see, I'm at 53 out of 197 life. This playthrough hasn't gone super well. Things aren't in a very great place. I do need to move in to keep my crow from dying. But I'm getting down. I'm at 13 life. I can't keep fighting. I do have a healing potion. I'm going to use that. Healing potion also heals your pet. So that's one way you can help keep them alive. So, one reason I'm struggling a little bit on this level is the skills I've picked up so far aren't quite as helpful for burning down enemies that you can't kill one hit. So what I really need now, so I'm at 7 life. I'm not going to go much further. 13 damage versus 11. That's an easy choice. So what I'm going to do is hopefully spend some of my shards to buy healing potions. The cheapest potion is 80. Let me get 2 of those. So you pick up shards throughout the game. You can use shards in the in-game store. You don't need to spend real money to play this game. You can if you want to, but certainly no requirement. So cool. One thing that I kind of wish I'd picked up sooner was the athletics skill, King of Hearts. That one would cause more hearts to drop. It's one of the best survivability skills in the early game. But I'm going to go Crusher again. What I really want to pick up one of these times is something to increase my damage. So Master of Power is probably more effective long term because it's going to increase the total number of slow weapons that drop by about 33%. But I'll go Thunderclap for now. 3 base speed is about 10% improvement. That's going to let me move around more quickly and kite more effectively, which is especially key on the next couple levels. This is sort of where the first playthrough difficulty peaks, here in the Desert Temple. Alright, so this is a tough choice. The wizard can send you to a lava level that is actually quite hard. The trick with the lava level is not to run around like a crazy person. So when you get in, you'll probably get attacked by an enemy. If you start kiting the enemy around, you'll aggro the other enemies on the level. One at a time is fine, but as soon as you start getting hit by 3, 4, 5 of these, you're going to have a lot of trouble. So as you can see, like, this guy's already taken half my life. They are really strong. The reward for this level, so Mace of Life, that's good. The enemies here drop fairly good items relative to the regular levels. The chest can also contain a couple rare items, so dark armors, and there's a blade that drops. But look at this, 147% to my defense. That's going to make a huge difference. Here's a great shield. Cool. I'm not sure where my pet got off to. So generally, as a crusher, I tend to have slower attack speed than my enemies. When things aren't going well, kiting is a good option. That's what we got the speed for. So coming into this lava level is almost always worth it if you can survive. Surviving does mean playing carefully and intelligently, but it generally gives you some nice items and about a level up. So I'm actually much more well equipped for the rest of the game. So increase total damage by 10%. That's going to be awesome. Because I really want to be dropping enemies super quickly. Painful Reminder and Cleave just help me burn them down. Cool. Got a new charm. Let's see what that charm does. Drums. Increase your range by 41%. Range is interesting. It also actually affects your duration. So I'm going to unequip Mirror Charm, equip Drum Charm. What that does is it increases the range and time stat, which increases the dangerous bite duration from 9 seconds to, from 6 seconds to 9 seconds. My crow being level 10, so every time a pet levels up, they get a 5% boost to power. So dangerous bite is slowly increasing over time. Every enemy that is poisoned by this takes an extra 14.5%, and that's going to keep going up. And let's sell the mirror. I don't need that anymore. Alright, Halberd of Dexterity. Halberds tend to have a lot of damage. So this claims that my DPS is getting down by 12%, but 21 damage versus 17. I think that's a clear win. The lifesteal isn't doing me that much good right now. Cool. 23 versus 21. Oops. Undo that. Equip. Alright. So we're really taking our time on this first playthrough. The key to this game, especially on the first few rounds, is that there are new unlockables every couple floors. What you really want to do is go far, not fast. Clearing an entire level is critical. Killing enemies effectively is critical. If you take more damage than you deal, you're not going to make it very long. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but essentially the more efficiently you can kill enemies, the further you can get. There are plenty of ways to recover life, and the recovery options tend to be pretty generous. So it's not quite as much of a resource constraint roguelike as many other games. But you do still want to be careful, especially on levels that didn't get lucky with the healing shrine. Cool. Well, this is fortunate. Master of Power. So when there's a big group of enemies like that, it's usually pretty important not to take the brunt of the damage. If you let yourself get surrounded, you'll take way more damage than you expect. These weapons are about equivalent to me. They've got the same damage, very similar delay. They both have luck. I'm going to keep on my Mace of Damage. It's got a little less delay, but it's got a little more luck. That's going to give me potentially more power long term. And so I'm actually in a fairly strong place right now. And so I want to focus at the moment on gaining skills that are going to increase my overall power long term. So extra base life is really powerful because base life is multiplied by strength, is multiplied by your armor. So that probably increased my total durability by, I don't know, 10% or so. Which is a pretty good estimate. Most of the skills in the game are balanced to be, roughly speaking, 10% boost in your total power. The key is finding those skills that have synergies with each other. So 10% flat additive 10% versus multiplicative 10%. You really want to focus on skills that multiply themselves. Cool. Charms, feather charm. All right. This is quite powerful. Haste means that the pet will attack faster and use their skills more frequently. So I'm going to equip that. That's going to decrease my crow's total attack delay down to 600 milliseconds. Trinket Charm increases power. So I'm going to get that on board. And the reason is we're about to face a boss. And so I've just increased my pet's power to 92%. Their dangerous bite's even stronger. That's going to increase my damage against the boss. And as long as I keep damaging the boss, the pet isn't really going to take any aggro. So I'm going to be the main source of DPS here. And having that enemy be poisoned is just going to increase my total effectiveness and my pet's total effectiveness. You know, so the key on this guy is not to get hit. You can try to react to his swings, but the enemy has a fixed delay, so you can sort of predict when he's about to attack and start moving away just in time. Cool. 38 damage versus 23, that's a clear win. 0.9 attacks per second, but the real key here is the defense, that 130%. I'm going to go maximum life. Lucky is great if you have a large base luck. I only have 5 luck. That would not have increased my luck by any critical amount. Great, 33. Cool. The plants here are pretty strong. They've got a lot of life. They've got a lot of damage. If you're not careful, you will lose more damage than you're dealing. Winged Boots charm will increase my pet's move speed. Not really a thing I'm worried about right now. Cool. So we're pretty well equipped at this point. With a Crusher build, it's pretty hard to lose. The addition of pets in this game just make a little bit of extra power. You know, the pet isn't going to solo one of these guys very well. Although, look at that. His range is greater than the enemy's range. That's hilarious. So I guess if things were really dire, I could just let him grind that down. That's probably a bug. I'm going to fix that. The enemies should definitely attack your pet back. Cool. I'm at 115 defense. Only 40 of that is coming from my armor, multiplied by my dexterity, which increases it by an extra 48%, which would have taken this to about 60. So literally half of my total defense right now is coming from those skills that I've gotten by leveling up. And so those skills, if you remember right, are the defense skills here, so that's a total of 24 defense from these skills, plus tough skin, plus 1 per level, 14. That's more defense than my armor is giving. That's one reason why I'm so survivable right now. Ooh. 37 damage versus 33. This is a hard decision. I think ultimately I'm going to stick with the longsword of life. With that much lower delay, it probably balances out. Plus it has life and strength, so... Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about the prospects on this run. I was worried that I was going to get halfway through and end up having to restart, which would have been a bummer, since I was sort of committed to uploading this video, whether or not I actually win the first try. As, you know, to be realistic here, I don't want to pretend that I can win every single time, although, you know, once you've played through Rogue Dungeon a few times, you can tend to win almost every time. Cool. Tough skin again. So if I look at my defense stat, I'm currently reducing damage by 58% on this floor. I'm going to grab tough skin and check it out, 62%. So that is roughly a 10% reduction in damage, which is great. A 10% reduction in incoming damage is key because even though you can increase your life by 10%, that doesn't necessarily increase all your healing by 10%. So cool. Get my first new relic. That relic is the Shuttered Blade. As I level it up, it'll increase my total damage. Cool. Oh my god. 50 damage versus 33. That is a game changer. I am now a monster. Things are just going to die. Well, maybe not in a single hit. You know, focused a lot on defensive skills this game, if you haven't noticed. Some playthroughs where I focus mostly on damaging skills feel a little different. It's a lot more fun when you're really just dropping enemies a single hit. My total damage right now is 115. Based on a base damage of 50 means I only have about a 2x multiplier on that. It's possible to get a lot higher than that if you stack the right skills. That said, I have many skills that reset my attack delay. I have many skills that increase my defense and my life. It's always a hard decision to decide whether you want to play a glass cannon or a balanced build. In this kind of game, a strong offense is often your best defense. Enemies can only damage you if they're alive. Oh, and I turned off sound effects. If you like playing with sound, you go to the settings options. You can turn on sound, but I tend to turn that off during these types of videos because it's going to make it a little easier to hear my voice narrating to explain what's going on without getting drowned out by combat sounds. Cool. Look at that group of enemies. That is going to be tough. So when I'm faced with a group of this many enemies, the best option usually is to kite. You don't really want to be taking damage if it's not very efficient. Spinning sweep is very efficient. Sometimes you just wait on your cooldown, you hit the group with that, cleave will take care of the rest. Alright, again, this is going to be dangerous. If I get in the middle of that, I will die in a second or two. You know, each individual hit doesn't do much, but in the middle, they will really burn you down. That's 15 or 20 enemies. But as you can see here, if I get too far from them, if the pet is too close, they will attack the pet. I think my crow's probably going to die here. Nope. Cool. Yeah, the key thing in this game is don't let yourself get surrounded. Especially as a warrior, you have great AoE skills. Alright, so I've got a ton of items that just dropped. Most of them are not upgrades, it turns out. Level up. Strength is great, 10% strength. So specifically, every point of strength increases your life by 1% and your damage by 1%. So getting plus 10% strength when you have about 100 strength base will increase your total damage by about 10%. So focusing on things like flat damage skills are really important, but also building up a good base of strength is also important. One thing I'm not worried about right now is dexterity. Although dexterity does increase your total DPS and your defense, it doesn't have nearly as much impact as strength. So the scaling on dexterity is each point of dexterity gives you roughly 1% defense and less than 1% reduction in attack delay. So get some shards. All right, here's the rogue class. I'm up to 94 gemstones already. That 50 bonus you get for reaching floor 11 the first time is great. If you want to rate the game, I always appreciate it. Helping other users find and enjoy the game is really important. One reason users are able to find the game despite the less than amazing graphics is you get to the Google Play Store, you've got game shows up with about a 4.6 star rating. You know, and that's because I think most players, as they play through it, really end up loving the game. If you don't love it, feel free to be honest. I always appreciate great feedback. But please don't be one of those assholes who just comes in and says, like, hey, your game is awful, it's no fun, you're the worst. You know, I have feelings too. I may not be the greatest artist, but I created a game that I love to play, and I hope you do too. $60 damage versus 50, easy for me to choose. 79 damage, awesome. 90 damage, even a loss of all of that life. 2700 versus 1700. I'm going to go with this green for that 50% life bonus plus 122 base plus life steal. The survivability difference is going to be huge. Let's see what my charms are. Speed and range, life steal, power. Oh man, 75% power is great. With level, his power is at 170%. Dangerous Bite is 27% bonus damage. That is really important. Alright, nothing is scarier than spawning into an ice level with ghosts. Thankfully, I've been building up the speed stats. Oh, wow. Word of Dexterity. Look at that. Not only is this a ultra rare drop, 4 stars, It is one of the best rolls I have ever seen at this point in the game. Look, the game has some imbalances. Sometimes you get really lucky. A ward already has a very high base defense, reduction, I should say. Then it has 51% base reduction added on, plus 93%, bringing us up to a total of 207. I don't think enemies even hit for 207 right now. When I get this thing on, I'm going to be invincible. That's not even fair. Sometimes you get lucky. That's why the game has a lot of replay value. This just gave me my free ticket. So I'm going to change my playstyle entirely. I don't even need to attack enemies. They'll die when I get the chance to kill them. Some strength potions. I'm going to save those for next game. I'm so strong right now, it doesn't matter. I don't need to level up. The joy of this game really is finding some of those great items. When you get a drop like that, oh man, look at that. Cleave just, oh. So I'm going to keep picking up items, but man, ever wished enemies had faster attack speed? I'd love to just build up a group of them to kill later on. Because, well, this monster can do a little bit of damage to me. The reduction is useful when it's high. It does scale away pretty quickly. If an enemy does 1,000 damage, 200 reduction doesn't do much. And, you know, the difference between floor 10 and floor 15 is 1,000 damage or so. The scaling on enemies is something like 20 to 30% per level, per floor. Your character scales, due to skills, at least somewhere like 10% per level. But then you add on items and other things, and you can really reach a pretty similar level of scaling as those enemies. Then the meta scaling in this game obviously is going to be, as you beat levels, you will find shards. Shards will upgrade your relics. You can also use Prisma to buy other upgrades. And so the meta game here really is to increase the difficulty multiplier of the dungeon that you're in. So this is currently on 1x mode. It goes up much, much higher than that. I think you can currently get up to about 500x mode. That means that level 1 enemies do a base of 500 damage. But you'll be able to counter that later on as you increase your own base stats. Cool. Let me go through my items real quick. This should be pretty quickly because I don't expect there'll be too many items here that are going to make a difference, except a great axe of damage. So I'm going to give up an insane amount of life for an insane amount of damage. Great axes have one of the highest base damages in the game. $20 luck, that's awesome. Anytime you find a great axe, you're doing great. They just hit for so much. Cleave. Alright. So there are actually two really good items that can drop as a warrior. One is the great axe and one is the lance. Turns out this lance has pretty similar damage to my great axe, but the great axe is still a higher base damage. I'm currently writing that reduction wave from my shield, taking anywhere between 10 and 100 damage. This is a joke. That is such a lucky drop. The thing is, you don't often find a reduction shield at this point in the game that does nearly this much effectiveness. That is virtually as lucky as I could have been. But, you know, the great thing with the Rogue Dungeon is there are enough item drops that by this point in the game, you've probably found a lucky drop. Maybe you got a weapon that has an insane amount of damage. Maybe you found a shield with extremely high reduction. Maybe you found 3 heroic potions. Whatever it is, there's always something fun and surprising. Cool. This next relic gives me additional defense. So the combination of attack relics, defense relics, they're going to make a really big impact long term. But at this point, let me just fly through the next couple levels. I say never let yourself get surrounded. That only matters if you take an appreciable amount of damage per hit. But I mean, think about it. If I didn't have my ward right now, I would be taking not 47 damage, but 250 damage. And that will melt me down in 10 or 15 hits. Right now I can take 40 plus hits before I even account for durability, healing. Now, the thing with this game is no matter how strong you are, never let yourself get lazy. You do need to clear every enemy. The items that drop are going to carry you forward even further. One really good drop can carry you an extra 5 floors, but you do need to keep finding new items from there. This is actually the last level of 1x mode. So kill this enemy. He does hit pretty hard. Thankfully, I've got pretty strong amounts of lifesteal. Let's see, what am I at on that? 9% lifesteal. I'm doing 500 damage, so... wow. 77% life on a great axe, that's incredible. So yeah, I'm not really worried here. I am mostly supporting myself on the basis of my lifesteal, losing a little bit of damage, but I'm just tanking all of this. Some things like that enemy's magic attack are pretty strong. See, I could give my pet durability, that'll increase their survivability. I am going to increase his power even further. Power is often one of the best pet skills. You know, my pet's damage hasn't really scaled that far, but the dangerous bite effect here is just so powerful. So a cool thing is, you know, just like the other bosses, the pet here will drop a really powerful, slow, strong weapon. So I'm going to equip that. And cool. I've unlocked 2x mode. The next unlockable is not actually for a number of floors, so there's really no point in going much further. At this point, I clearly could get a couple more floors in on the basis of my current items. I'm not going to record that. The key thing here is beating this mode, unlocking 2x. We've got 2,000 shards. That's going to let you level up your relics for an extra 10% damage, defense, life, probably pet stats. So you'd be doing pretty well at this point. So yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope this has been useful.